Eric and I, when we first met, we were in an airport on our way to Cyprus to play golf, right? And you were going through a tough patch at that time. And I saw a guy that was a little broken, a little like, I'm not quite sure what's next.
That's an understatement.
That's an understatement, okay. And now fast forward 3.5 years?
I feel like we need to explain.
Go ahead.
Broken. I had basically decided after 3 years of marriage to end the marriage 5 days before a trip that had been planned for a year with only one person that I knew, and it wasn't you, it was Lawrence. And I arrive at the airport and I'm on the verge of tears. And Lawrence says, "How are you?" I say, "Yeah, I'm not good. I'm going through a divorce right now." And he said, "Oh my goodness, so am I." And then I turned to you and you said, "I'm Nick and I'm on my second marriage."
Hi, Nick Segal. Welcome to The Exchange. So, boys, I am so thrilled that you both agreed to sit here with me. I mean, how often are you in that seat, Eric Lang, relative to, we'll call it this seat?
Maybe once a year.
Not often.
Your connection and your meeting was kind of random, was it not?
Like most, yeah, absolutely. Evan and I, early, this is 2 years ago or more, maybe 2.5, we, kind of had messaged a little bit through Instagram. This was at a time when I could really read all of my messages that come in, and now it's just too much, which makes me sad, but it's just a factor of growth. But we messaged a little bit and, oh, I'm in LA, we had a friend in common, let's play golf. Okay. I had a list, actually, this predates Random Golf Club, but I had a list of about 20 people that lived in LA that I hadn't met yet, that I wanted to play golf with. And basically skipped to the front of the line because we ran into each other in the airport. Yeah. And I remember passing him on the outside of the terminal there. He was walking by me, dressed similarly as to now with the blazer, and he had this great carry-on that I recognized to be well-styled, and I thought, oh, that guy's got it together. But didn't know him. And then literally clocked him and had the thought, this guy's got it together. 10 steps, then I hear Eric, and he said, I'm Evan, we've been messaging about playing golf, I'm friends with these people, and you know them? I said, yeah, of course I know you. You're on my list, I have a list, you're on the list. And then we played golf 3 times. The first time was very friendly, the second time also very friendly, and the third time he said to me, I have an idea. And I think that idea was this. Right.
So how long had you been cultivating that idea before you
since I messaged him the first time.
Yeah.
So I had, my kind of version of that story is that I had seen Adventures in Golf. And I saw the first episode and it blew me away.
episode 1 the Mumbai?
Episode 1 was the old course.
Okay.
Yeah. The first one that I had seen though was Prison Golf. And so that was a piece of...
That's a popular one.
That's a popular one, and it's also a really interesting...
We can all relate.
No, thank God we can.
Thank goodness, yeah. And it blew me away. I had never seen anything like it. The filmmaking part of it, it was beautifully shot, incredibly done. It was concise. It was 10 minutes or so, and it told me this entire story of this place in America where the prisoners work on this golf course and are in this limbo of wanting to play and not really getting to, and it was a really touching story. And he was an incredibly compelling host. And then I saw his Instagram account and I followed him, and I saw that on a couple of photos of a friend of mine, Garrett, who's a great filmmaker, Erik had liked his photo. And so I was like, oh my God, he knows Garrett? And this is amazing. And I immediately messaged Garrett and I said, you have to introduce me to him. And
this is back when I had 3,000 followers.
Yeah. And so then I messaged Erik and we started kind of messaging back and forth. We ran into each other. But from that point of messaging him the first time, with my background in brand marketing and advertising and working for agencies, I looked at the golf industry and I couldn't see anybody else that was hyper-focused within kind of the brand agency and marketing side of golf and worked to take a storyteller's approach into working with brands, and
with a consciousness.
And it's, as you used it earlier, it's the most important but most overused word in marketing these days, and it's authenticity.
Yeah.
And there was no one like Erik, and so I immediately put together this deck of what a modern media company, brand agency, kind of community foundation, nonprofit side would look like, and I kind of made up this little keynote deck. And but what was interesting is when I pitched it to you on that third round, when I told you about it, it had touched a chord with you of something you had been thinking about for a long time, which was Random Golf Club, and about how you could turn the filmmaking and the content side of what you were doing into a broader community effort. And so I think it related to you in a way that I didn't anticipate, that kind of caught me off guard a little bit, that you said, oh my God, I'd been thinking about a lot of these things already. And you formalized it in a way, and I think I put it pen on paper and wrote it out in a way that touched on all of that and then expanded on it. And that was really, I think, kind of where the meeting of the minds came from.
So do you have a business sense like Evan's?
No, absolutely not.
So the partnership, did you see that, this guy scratches itches that I don't know how to reach? Was there any of that consciousness out of the gate, or was it just, hey, I like what he has to say?
I think I would come to that point eventually in our partnership, but in the beginning it was merely just fascinating discussions.
Yeah.
And for me, my favorite part of my job is the idea stage, right? And I think Evan's the same. And so this was before we had our office. I was at my house, and we would sit on the patio. We would stand, actually. Yeah. And we would just go into these incredible brainstorms. And since then, we've had these sort of moments, for whatever reason, sharing a hotel room. And actually, one night was on National Golf Day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last May. And we stayed up all night. And the next day I had to fly to London, so I was a bit fried. But, we had this kind of unbridled electricity that occurred around this one main idea. He talked about his family's involvement in public golf. And, I think the problem that I think that we really came together over to solve for was kind of this idea of what happens if you don't have a golf club? Yeah. Or what happens if you don't feel like you have a golf club? Most private clubs, I've been a member, I know a lot of people that are members of private clubs. Most private clubs, you kind of end up there not really because of your personality or beliefs, but because of your economic status.
You can pay.
And if you can pay this much, you can be a member here. If you can pay that much, you go over here.
Right.
But this club that we dreamed of wasn't based around any place, any amount of money, merely just a belief or a feeling that occurred when you played golf. And you have it.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's conspicuously absent here, there's no sell in in the relationship of coming together of you. As much as you'd love to work with Erik, there's no I got to work with this guy, and let me see how I can unlock the keys to see if he'll say yes to me, and then we can work together. It sounds like it was much more organic and much more of the sharing of the heart and the consciousness of who you both are.
Yeah, I mean, it was, and part of that was just through happenstance and logistics, and that when we first started hanging out a lot and talking and kind of dreaming about this stuff, I was working with a wealth management fund out of Salt Lake. I was working on a couple of projects with them, doing some capital raises, and was commuting back and forth to Salt Lake, which is when we ran into each other at the airport. I'd come back, and they were doing some restructuring, so I was kind of in a holding pattern with them for 3-4 months. And I was slated to move out to Salt Lake to take an executive role with one of the companies that we worked on in January of that next year. And so from September or October through the end of the year, I was like, I got nothing on my plate. I'm in a holding pattern. I'm locked in for the start of next year. They're still giving me a great, little benefit here. And I want to do something I'm passionate about and really love. And so
the space was open.
The space was open. And so we started talking a lot, and we started brainstorming and playing golf and having these incredible sessions at his house. And I said really hey, listen, I got some time right now. I'd love to just help out with what you're working on.
There were two things that happened in the process of this merely friendly conversation. One was, again, your ability to kind of dream bigger was ever present and inspiring, because a lot of people aren't given that gift for whatever reason. They aren't able to say, what if you did this? What if there was a way to do that? And I mean, that's how Adventures in Golf was born. I said that, and then I lost a ton of money on the first season.
Was this the Rock episode, talking to the Rock?
Yes, it was these commercials we did for Golf Channel. We proposed the ideas, we came up with the idea of how it was going to work, and it happened. And that was absolutely mind-blowing to me. It was like dynamite.
Right.
You know, gunpowder on its own, useless.
So give the formula of what. So for those that don't know the commercial, what's the context and the concept of the commercial?
The concept of the commercial is that Waste Management. I'll put on my brand hat and see if I can nail it.
Go ahead.
Waste Management wanted to, you know, they had an entire brand deck created for them by an agency about legends, and so it was all about legendary moments that occurred either during the Waste Management Phoenix Open or within the Waste Management, you know, corporate structure.
That's their concept
that they brought to us.
Right.
And so we conceived of an idea where I would make commercials for Golf Channel where I'm in a chair basically going through these legendary moments. And, you know, at one point, one of the most memorable moments aside from Tiger's hole-in-one at the Waste Management is when a 700-pound rock is deemed as a loose impediment, and therefore spectators can move it. And it took like 10 spectators, and they moved this rock out of Tiger's golf ball, the way between the ball and the hole.
Right.
And so I, as it would be, interviewed the Rock, this large paper mache version of the Rock.
And you're in a smoking jacket, you're in a high back leather chair, and it's wood paneled den behind you with a pipe.
No pipe.
No pipe.
Maybe a pipe.
Yeah, there was a
dog on my lap.
Snowball was there. Yeah.
And you know, but the whole idea of that was just, you know, one of us routes, the other hits the gas.
Right.
And that's why rally races have two people in the front seat, and that's kind of our team. And we trade sometimes.
That's a good analogy.
That is a great analogy.
Thank you.
I like that one.
Now, so did Snowball...
Just came up with that.
I love it.
Never thought of it before.
Here it is. Does Snowball get a SAG card? Because...
Snowball's waiting in the pits. Snowball's on the tool truck.
But so the end of the story was that recently we had a big partner of ours. I'm not going to go into any specifics, but a big partner of ours reach out and say, we want you to do this film for us about a brand overhaul kind of thing that we're doing.
We should say who it is.
Okay, so
I think it's interesting.
Okay, so it was the USGA.
Well, first of all, let's backtrack. Yeah. So we worked for the USGA last year, and we did a huge project for them. It was like this 20-minute film that spanned multiple locations and countries about the future of golf in cities where urban development is essentially cinching down the golf courses. Big problem, especially for the USGA, right? And so we traveled around and made this great film. Then they said, the film is so great, we'd love for you to moderate and be the host of our 3-day panel in Tokyo. Would you be open to that? Yeah. So we did that, and I'm up there on the stage making English jokes to a Japanese audience.
How does that relate?
They weren't laughing. Okay. I was laughing.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great joke.
That's one of your charms, I think. And I don't want to interrupt the flow, but you have that ability to just look at the humor in something and just share it, whether anybody else is getting it. And I think that irreverence is so beautiful. But anyway, keep going.
That goes back to the process, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm doing it because I'm interested.
Of course.
And as long as I'm interested, and goes back to, I really didn't get to say this earlier, but before anything happened, before any of this golf camera stuff happened, I went to the Waste Management. This is when Scratch said, would you want to work with us? And I said, I don't even know what you want me to do. You want me to be on camera? I don't want to be on camera, but how much are you paying? And then I went to the Waste Management and made a little video, interviewed Chris Berman there, the ESPN host, and I loved him. I love him. I mean, he's got it all, swagger, style, doesn't care but cares, knows a lot but doesn't sound too smart.
Yeah.
And I said, Chris, they want me to do this job where I'm this host, and they want me to go travel around and make videos. What would you tell me to do as a noob, as a mentor? And he goes, well, it's very easy. You have to be interested, because if you find it interesting, other people will, and just trust that all the time. And I go back to that a lot, right? Because even in a podcast, if I'm not smoking it, it's like, let's just move on,
right?
Let's try to get out of this subject. And but anyway, so we had done this great successful project for the USGA. Yep. Then they came back to us and said, in the 2020 US Open, we're going to do a huge rebrand, and we'd like you to be a part of it. And we said, great. And then they said, here's what we want you to do. And we said, that's tough, because we want to say yes to grandfather golf.
Sure.
But we don't want to do that.
Well, and it was a logistical no, because the timing of it, the turnaround time was really, really tight. It would have.
It wasn't the logistics, because even if they gave us a 6-month runway, we would have still said no.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was creative challenges.
That was an excuse, and it did work well. But then they did come back and say, well, what if we give you a longer run?
They ran us through the Zambezi deck of their new brand, of some of the media pieces, the commercial properties, all the stuff that's going to roll out in a couple of months, advance of the U.S. Open, and we were blown away by it. We were like, this is really good. What are we going to do to add value into this conversation? How can we make a dent in things that they've already done so successfully? And that challenge of adding value and of being of worth and of making sure that we fulfill our end of any agreement that we go down the road on is a really, really sacred and important question for us.
Of course.
And
the integrity of your
absolutely. We never want to do something that we don't feel confident that we're going to be able to do well.
Right.
And that we're going to be able to add a different perspective into the conversation and create something that they're going to find really valuable. We never want to make a throwaway piece, even if they're writing you.
So did you just not see your vein in?
Didn't see the lane. The budget didn't make sense with the production schedule. They did give us a longer runway for a variety of reasons. I still wanted to do it, though. Back to your question about pushing back, and I still said, let's do it, because I want to keep building this relationship with the USGA. I see that as a tactical move. I want to do these 10 other things with them, and I think this would be a good inroad to do that.
But I said, first of all, what's the most important thing to us? Not that. The most important thing to us is focusing on this fertile period of time for Random Golf Club.
Yeah. Which we're going to get into in a minute.
Yeah. But, it was definitely a hard decision.
Yeah, and so he pushed me to say no to them, to say, doesn't work for us, can't do it.
Did you give them enough information about it so they understood to invite you back in some other vehicle?
I ran through all of what we just talked about now. The creative struggle about adding value, us wanting to do that more than anything else, the production schedule, the budget, et cetera, et cetera.
And we steered them into, again, what's the most important thing to us? We would like you to support Random Golf Club. That would be more valuable to us. And they said, well, how can we do that?
Yeah.
So really, it's just another one of training. Right? Like, we need to say, look, we don't really want that job. We want that job, but not this way. So
we want to play with you. We just need a vehicle in order to do it.
Yeah.
Or here's something else that I think can achieve your same objective, which is get people excited for the U.S. Open and get people excited for the game of golf in general and our national championship and all these things.
Well, bravo to them to be open to that.
Oh, they're great.
They're great.
It happens a lot because basically we talked about where's the contemporary of what we do, and there's bigger and then there's smaller. We're in this middle phase where a lot of people come to us and they say, go to our tournament and tag us. We don't care what you do.
Okay.
And it's like, ooh, we don't really want that work. We don't, because why? There's no messaging, really.
What is that going to do? How is that going to put a dent in the universe? How is that going to get people into the game?
And we did it recently with United Airlines, and it was at the Genesis.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting opportunity because we were able to, again, work with them and say, well, what's going on that week that you're doing? We know that you have hospitality, and if you're a Mileage Plus card member or Mileage Plus member, you can get in.
Yeah.
But that's not really enough of a story for us. We're not quite that one-to-one or transactional. What else is going on? And they said, well, we've got this charity thing going on with people putting, and it's for foster kids who turn 18 who have a hard time finding a job. So, well, that's pretty interesting. What if we just focused on that?
Yeah.
Let's tell that story, and we did it pretty well, I would say. I was really proud of it.
So USGA, the granddaddy of them all, right? You say no to them. That's a very courageous act. How do you trust yourself enough to know we're going to work with you in some form or fashion? It's just not in this vein.
Well, it was interesting that it goes back to that waste management discussion where Evan was saying, shoot for the stars. And it worked. And I think that led me into a world with a lot more trust of my own instincts and self-confidence and, just understanding what we do and what we want to do and what we need to do those things. And, we could clutter up our schedule with a lot of things that are not really what we want to do. And then all of a sudden, we just got a job that we didn't want to do. And all of a sudden, we're at work and we're thinking, oh, we don't want to do any of these projects.
And you don't have the space to then do those projects you want to do.
Yeah, so saying no was kind of like saying no to a late dinner when you need to sleep. So restoring our energy into the thing that we care the most about, Random Golf Club, that that was what that was about. And it was about looking at, our year has two parts. One is the really busy time and the other is the busy time. And we're about to descend into the really busy time, which is golf season. It's the Masters to the Tour Championship.
Sure.
So saying no to that was a big part of allowing other opportunities.
Well, and then also I think it was about having the courage to champion the things that we know are going to be more compelling for him.
We've seen ourselves go from basically 0 to 100 in 1 year. And you were about to ask me about being tired.
Yes.
And being tired is funny because it's not a quality of energy, it's a quality of excitement for me. And it is hard to get excited about doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
So that is the trick for me on a daily basis and I'm really thrilled to be sitting here because this is a great way to start the week.
Yeah.
But, understanding inspiration and making sure that there's time to have it.
How do you find the time to slow it down to get the creativity flowing?
Being in the office, we can get creative, but it usually happens outside of there.
So you find the pauses in travel and
travel has been a really good place for us. Sitting on an airplane, you're locked down for 5-6 hours or sometimes 14 hours, depending on if we're going international. 30 hours. And, often the Wi-Fi is not kind of working and you're bored with the movies and then neither one of us drink. And so it's like, it's an opportunity for us to just dream.
Yeah.
And actually, on this point, I was just saying to Erik last week, that we need to schedule time for us to go on a little corporate retreat and to go somewhere that we can shut out the world, play golf in the morning, and then go back to a house with a big whiteboard and just keep visioning what's possible for our next 5, 10, 15, 25 years.
Let me throw you the keys to Villanama and just seriously go up there.
We're going to take you up on it. And I thought of that on the way over here, actually, of asking
Absolutely.
you
I
about that.
have this house in Pebble Beach. It's 6 bedrooms. It's Spanish. It's inside
it's
the
on
gates,
camera
baby.
now, so you can't renege on that.
No,
I'm just going to get my calendar out.
And
so whatever you want.
And we'll go up and we'll play a little golf.
In my world, if I don't take that time to slow it down, grab a whiteboard, and just get my thoughts out of here into that next plane of dimension where I can then look at it and go, okay, then let's move the pieces around and really prioritize and the stepping stones to get there, right? I think our heads work very much like
I was
that.
just actually reading, I just started reading Bob Iger's book.
Okay.
And he has this great piece in it where he was talking about the Fox acquisition and how he knew that this was a potential for him and he couldn't see it. He couldn't envision how all the pieces would work. And so he took 2 days, he canceled all of his appointments, he had them bring in whiteboards into his executive office over in Burbank, and he couldn't remember the last time he was on a whiteboard. And he wrote out all of the Disney properties, whether it's the channels, the amusement parks, the studios, Disney Animation, Marvel, etc. He wrote out all of the Fox properties. And then he started connecting the dots. And he started seeing how they would mesh together. And then he started writing people's names, talent, of who would run these different divisions. And after 2 days, he called his corporate counsel and his, all of his executives in there, and he says, "This is the roadmap. This is how we do it."
Does he ask for outside input on that, or is this just him in a silo?
It's him in a silo creating.
Because that can be very dangerous.
It can be dangerous, but I think look, he's
Bob Iger.
He's Bob Iger.
It's working so far.
It's working so far, and he's been at the helm of Disney for many years, and under the tutelage of some great executives, and has done just a masterful job with Disney. I see my dividend check go up every time I get one, and he is someone that I look to, and I really look to a lot of people in business to help me think outside my own methodology, to help envision different pathways. And even when we played golf a year ago, and that experience of bouncing ideas off you, testing some of my assumptions was invaluable. It so really made a deep impact on me about being able to achieve all the things that we just talked about, and seeing, because we hadn't done much by that point. It was early trade.
It was a gleam in the eyes, and like, what if? And we can, which is the best ground to step into.
It is, and then hearing from someone that has accomplished as much as you have, and someone of your stature to say to me, "Well, I think you're onto something. I think that you've got a good idea there," and then it takes the courage to execute it, right?
It does indeed. Boy, and the courage is, I love that word. Okay, we've been talking about random golf, talking around it. Let's dive into some random golf.
Originally, it was this idea that I wanted to leave my private golf club membership and join Random Golf Club and make this club for everybody to join. And it could have, you know, these sort of social media kind of connectivity done through an application that you would sort of become a member of that way.
But everything's designed to be inclusive. Every post that I see is like, come be with us.
Oh yeah, all are welcome.
Yeah, there's a great one from, so last Random Golf Club, and thinking about the price of it and the logistics and how to make it more inclusive is something that Erik cares so deeply about, and I do as well, but it's something that's always on his mind, which I admire so greatly. And so for the last one, he said, I'm going to give 5 scholarships to people that are
which
in keeping with the spirit of Random Golf Club. So write us, tell us your story. And one of the kids that wrote said, you know, I just started playing golf. I have played a handful of times. My weird swing and my mishmash set of clubs, I always thought wouldn't really fit with Random Golf Club. And then I saw an Instagram post that Erik did, which was his welcome to Random Golf Club at an event we did in Phoenix, where he talked a lot about inclusivity. He talked about how the most important person there is the person that's newest to the sport, because of his own experience starting to play golf, where you felt like an outsider going to even a public course. And I felt the same thing, because I'm late to golf as well, where I would go to the starter shed and I had a tee time at a public course and they would basically scowl me out of there. Or at the driving range, people are looking at your weird swing or you're doing some weird practice thing. And it's not a welcoming environment in so many ways. And so,
especially at public courses.
Especially at public courses, which is crazy.
At a private course, oh, there's John, I know John, whatever. But at a public course, it's almost as if we're all fighting for different armies.
Yeah.
And that's a sad experience, because that's the blood of golf, public golf.
Right.
And that's what needs to be addressed. And what Random Golf Club really aims to do is not change every golf course, not change the format of golf. A 50 person on a whole thing is great. That's a once a month thing or a once in a lifetime thing. You know, we do it all the time. But the idea is that that's aimed at really just shattering any experience of exclusivity or boundary between you and the other golfers on the course. Or you've got the group on the tee and you look back and you know what they're saying. They're saying, what the fuck are these guys doing?
Right.
Yeah, what are they doing here? They don't belong here.
Right. And instead of take your time, no problem, you know, the go-to is usually, you know, well, it's partly I paid for golf. I want to get my round in. And the other irony is that we, you know, come to golf, we spend all this time and money getting there, and then we want it to be done as soon as possible. And I mean, I don't like a slow round either. No one likes waiting.
No, for sure.
But, you know, Random Golf Club's great because it's 9 holes, and, you know, you're kind of playing alternate shot. You have a partner that you haven't met. On par 3s, you pick up if no one made a hole in one. It's actually really exciting.
Yeah.
And what the best way I've heard it described is it's a moving cocktail party with a subtle purpose. And so
it's a moving cocktail party with a subtle
purpose.
And what's the subtle purpose?
Golf.
It's not so subtle when we're on a golf course. But
you stop caring about things that you cared about prior.
Right.
Yeah. And there's a couple takeaways from taking part in Random Golf Club. One is you're teeing off in front of 30 people. Which
let me tell you, you know, that is a harrowing moment, right? And everyone's lining up, and there were 2 of us at a time, right?
Yeah.
So and by the way, group 1 means there was group 2 and group 3 that were still just waiting.
So 100 people watching.
100 people watching.
Right. So,
which is an unusual experience for an amateur golfer. And look, there's 2 rules of Random Golf Club. All are welcome.
Yes.
And laugh at the bad shots.
Okay, that's great. That's great. And stay behind everybody.
Yeah, sure. There's the safety protocol as well. Yeah. But it's, you know, Erik said to me a long time ago, there are 2 really important things to do when you're on a golf course. One, wave at every golfer you see out there.
Yeah.
And it's not something that I think ever occurred to me when I was playing before, but now I do it every single time I'm on the golf course. I'll see a guy 3 fairways over, I'll give him a little wave, give him a hat tip, and everyone is super friendly, and it's a way of bridging a little community while you're out there. And the other thing is that when you see that guy or gal down at the driving range with a brand new swing and, you know, old mishmash clubs and not a golf outfit, go introduce yourself, say hi.
Root for them.
Yeah,
stay in the game.
Say, hey, can I answer any questions about being out on a golf course for you? Have you gone out to the course yet? Like, do you want to practice together?
Right.
You know, create a little bit of a friendship and a mentorship opportunity, because I've played a lot of golf in my life, and, you know, I'm not great at it, but I know kind of how to exist in this space, you know? Talk to people and see who's been playing golf at a disparate level to you. So if you're a very experienced golfer, go find that new golfer talk to everybody, see who's been playing for not a long time, and we do a little survey usually at the beginning.
The kid I was playing with was 17 years old.
Exactly. So who's been playing golf for a year? Less than a year.
Yeah.
Less than 6 months. And
thank God he teed off first. Sorry.
Yeah. No, not at all.
That was too much.
Too much pressure.
Yeah.
But it's it is kind of intimidating. But you kind of get over it. But it's the idea is you pair up with someone you don't know.
Yes.
And you get a experienced golfer with a new golfer, and so then they head out on the course together, and inevitably they teach each other some things.
Yeah.
The new golfer teaches the experienced golfer a little bit of that wonderment about and mystery and kind of romance behind one of the early rounds, and the experienced golfer teaches them, okay, here's how you pair your divot marker, here's where you stand, go put your bag on the other side near the tee box, and kind of keep it moving.
It was funny, there was a video, YouTube, What is Random Golf, and you were somewhere.
Korea.
Yeah. You pan to the audience, and it's just white guys. and you're speaking to them, and there are 58 million golfers in the world, and you want to double that number? Why?
Well, I mean, the problem with the grow the game mentality is that it's coming from corporations that want to make more money.
Right.
And everybody can see through that, and I think that's why people roll their eyes when they hear the phrase grow the game. The funny thing is that, I don't know the numbers in my head right now, but 1 million people try golf every year for the first time. But more than that, quit golf.
So it's we're having a diminishing returns.
The attrition is a problem.
Yeah.
And I slate that as a factor of, obviously, pleasure. People aren't enjoying it. The satisfaction rates for golf are the same as airlines. So we have a problem with satisfaction in golf.
It's supposedly a leisurely game. I think the best walk in the park, right? It's not so beautiful.
But golf, in some sense, it doesn't need to grow, in my view.
Yeah.
Right? Like the course is already packed. I can't go play Rustic Canyon on the weekend if I call them on Thursday.
Right.
I can't do it. So, and if it gets more crowded, it's going to get more expensive, as it should. And, we don't need to build more courses. So I don't really feel like growing the game is really what we need to do.
A lot of courses aren't even making money. I mean,
some courses. I mean, the courses in urban centers are doing very well.
Yeah.
All of the courses in the city of LA system, there's 13 courses in the city, packed.
Yeah.
Jam-packed. They turn a profit every single year. They do very well. Their tee sheet is full every weekend. They do very well.
Okay.
Same is true for most urban centers. New York, San Francisco, Dallas, Atlanta. The courses in smaller rural areas, those ones struggle. Because, in my estimation, and having seen a lot of these courses, there is a misalignment with consumer desire and their offering. So they try to be the big 18-hole. They try to be a facsimile of a country club experience. A theoretical country club experience. Expensive green fees, manicured, beautifully manicured course, stuffy, button-up collars, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then the consumers are like, man, I just want to go ahead and
I want to be in t-shirts
and
a pair of jeans and so maybe in sneakers.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So there's a bit of a misalignment there with a lot of those courses that are losing money.
Yeah, okay.
And they even call themselves country clubs a lot of times.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, but as far as growing the number of golfers, that has its own problems associated with it. Like we were talking about, we're kind of at a capacity on some level, but I don't know of any other game that is as challenging, beautiful, social as golf. I just don't. So I would love to consider anyone who doesn't play golf as more of a person who doesn't play golf yet, especially given that I was not just a non-golfer, but an anti-golfer until 30. And it brought so much beauty into my life. So, I would love for people to have that opportunity to do that. I don't care whether they wear a collared shirt or not. I mean, I don't mind the dress code, to be honest with you. In the beginning, I hated it. But now I like putting a belt on and a collared shirt.
Right.
I don't think that's the barrier to entry. I think the barrier to entry is that no one is incentivized to bring a newcomer to the golf course. Golf courses used to have free lessons in the 70s to grow the game. There are so many reasons why we don't invite people out with us. And that's the problem I want to solve. It's not so much, to say I want to double the number of golfers in the world is truly goal-oriented. And that's not really where I'm trying to live right now.
Okay.
The process is, let's just create a more friendly culture where golf might not be the sport that every villain plays in the movie. Like, how great would that be?
Right.
I don't know if that's going to happen. And truly, this is exclusively a problem in America. It's not a problem in Scotland.
Yeah, you've made reference to that. In Scotland, Europe, it's much more inclusive, much more relaxed.
So maybe that could change. And the truth is, I know that when people come to a random golf club or find out about it or watch a video or whatever, however they touch the idea, I know that it shifts something for all of us, as it did for me.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing, is not to grow the game. Because the game is fine. People are coming to it. It's to help people enjoy the game.
Yeah.
And to create a safe place for new people to come and really light it on fire for them.
Right.
Because if I'm an individual going to the golf course over and over and over again and I literally just keep going alone, I miss the crucial part of the game, which is that I'm walking around with people.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find that randomly. It's hard to meet Evan randomly. It's hard to meet you randomly. But I cherish those. And the idea is that Random Golf Club is like speed dating.
Right. There's a great opportunity with what you guys are doing to invite people to truly live the game of golf and live your life in that manner of come here for the joy.
Yeah, and that's really, I think, the beauty of it. And it blows me away every time that we do one of these things to see and hear the feedback loop, which is constant. And Erik said earlier that this is a great microcosm and it's a great focus group, essentially, of all of the things that we then bring back to the brands that we work with. And the business side of it is that we have 100 people or whatever out there, and we say to them, there is no winner here. And I love this line that we say all the time, is the only winner of Random Golf Club is the person that met the most people, made the most connections. And what you score is irrelevant. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You hit a good shot, you hit a bad shot. It's all the same. It's all on equal footing. And it's something that he's helped me unlock with my own golf game is, detaching from the transactional side of the game.
Well, and what's funny is you play 9 holes, but really what you're doing is performing a swing in front of a group of people. And between those, you walk and talk.
Right.
And it's a really remarkable, deconstruction of the golf game. It's like we took a sandwich and we took the bread and put it over here and put the salami over here and the lettuce over here. And it's like, that's what makes a sandwich. And we see that in golf, but it's hyper. With that many people around, you really realize, oh my God, this is about the people. It's about the people I don't know. And it's very easy to go up and say hi to somebody because everybody else is doing it because I've asked you to.
Well, and also they're looking at my bag and they go, oh, you're with that bag,
Well, they're there for the same reason. The same thing drew them into coming and buying a ticket and coming to one of these things, which is the stories that Erik tells and the stories that we tell across our channels and the way that we approach the game. It's this brand that we've created that they say, I want to be part of that. And that speaks to something in me.
Yeah. So last question on this, all very altruistic, right? But there's a business component to what you're doing too. I mean, and supporting the altruism with a business model. What is that business model and how does it become self-sustaining?
It started off as making videos on YouTube, which is, for some YouTubers, very lucrative. For us, it's just sort of a great opportunity to get the word out. And then it started off as some merchandise. We made a hat that said Random Golf Club on it. A lot of people bought it. We ran out. We had to make more. We're always making more now. And that was where I was first mostly surprised by the Random Golf Club movement, if you will, because people liked it and they wanted to put their chips in the ring. And that was inspiring to me. And I said, whoa, this is actually a thing. I didn't realize that. I thought, who was going to buy a hat? It didn't even occur to me. I made it because I wanted one. I wanted a hat that said Random Golf Club. So we made a couple extras. And, I'm being slightly dumbing it down, but seeing that proponent of it was interesting. And then seeing...
But again, it emanated from something you wanted for yourself because it excited you.
And then with the meetups, they were originally free. And that was wonderful to do. People were just so excited.
But you still had to pay for the course, did you?
We actually got some of the courses to just give us the course for free.
Okay.
And then people would come out.
Because they caught the spirit of what it is.
We had to explain it to them.
Of course.
Well, and also, it's a unique business opportunity for the golf course because I'm saying we'll bring 100 people out at a tee time that you're never going to sell.
100 people that 70% of them never been to your golf course.
Never been.
Sure.
And they live in your city. So
new audience.
That's an opportunity for them. And so what we've started doing though is in the spirit of supporting municipal golf courses, we've started saying we would like to pay you and here's what we're comfortable paying you for all of these tee times. And in some cases, we just say we're going to buy the golf course out.
Got it.
And then, in order to foster the spirit of sociality, we usually try to get food after the round so that people have an incentive to stick around and hang out. So that now we sell a ticket for, and the ticket is always a funny one for me because, you know, I hate selling tickets, to be honest with you. But I realize that there's a lot of great positives to it. One is people set time aside.
Yep.
2 is people value the experience.
Exactly right.
3 is we can see how many people are going to come before holding the event. 4, we have the opportunity to basically create something where people can stay connected to afterwards because they've gone on the website and they've set up a ticket, and now we have 100 people who've been to the LA Random Golf Club, and we can email them all individually and say, we're doing this now, you know? The idea of having a sponsor come on board and pay for the events is great. It will always be a ticketed event because I think that there is something important to saying, I am willing to place value on this experience.
With absolutely.
Because we've done them for free sometimes, and people just kind of show up and they're just kind of looking for free golf. And we're offering something much more valuable than free golf.
Yeah.
And the truth is, you know, it does take a lot of logistics to set up the events and do them all. And so that really is the kind of answer to that end of the live meetups being ticketed.
Yeah, but there is a bigger vision there that we've talked about, which is how can we take what we do with the Random Golf Club events where we go to and where there's 100 people, and how can we blow that up? How can we make it a viral experience? How can we tap into local chapters that have popped up around the world? How can we take this central ethos to what we're doing, which is creating a community, bringing people together that don't know each other for interesting and fun rounds on the golf course? And how can we facilitate that in a broader sense in places where we're not physically located?
Right, there's a star component to this too, right? I mean, if you start doing random golf everywhere and you're not there, the face of it, do people show up the same way?
No.
No, okay.
But it's also, you know, it's an audience thing too, because I'm sure we have yet to experiment with that, really. I mean,
but it's in the future planning of how we think about it, of how we think about taking this central ethos and blowing it up and facilitating this kind of community connection, fostering people meeting each other, mentorship, all of these kinds of things. There is a digital solution, there is a branding solution, a content solution that will make all of that happen, which is where we see it going in the future and see it being much, much more sustainable.
Yeah, but it'll start with Pebble Beach, right? In Villanova.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. We're going to get that on the books.
I can be there by about 8 p.m.
Yeah, we'll next week.
Soon if you're hopping a plane. Any closing thoughts you want to add to this equation?
Just that, you know, it's great to have a space to talk about this, so thank you for that. And I think, you know, we've played golf many times, and you know, I think if people could be more like you, it would be a great thing for not only the planet but for golf, right? I mean, you have this uncanny ability to allow people to be exactly where they are and not try to push them out of it. And you know, because we've had some, you know, ecstatic rounds and some dramatic rounds and some, you know, not so dramatic rounds, and I think that's really a great asset as a golfing partner. So anyway, I hope that you know, more people get to play golf with you.
Thank you, Max.
Come to more events.
There. Oh, sure, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything from your perspective?
No, just a gratitude to be here and to be able to have this conversation, and you know, again, a thanks to that early round of golf we played at Wilshire, and the validation that you gave to my crazy idea that this thing could work and that we could accomplish some of these grandiose goals that we had. And you know, I really appreciate all that and all the help along the way. And I look forward to many more years of leaning into your expertise and your vision and leadership. And so thank you for all of it.
Absolutely. A pleasure.